Okay, here we go. Episode 2 of the Tiny Talks podcast. My name is Max, your host, and today I'm finally publishing my chat with Jesse Bolt from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. We just sat down in my van, Harrison, while I was there, and we just had a short chat about van life in general, and also answering some questions that some of you guys asked him. So, also I just want to mention that this podcast is now available on Spotify and Google Podcasts. So if you guys are listening to your music there, feel free to subscribe on these platforms. It would really mean a lot. If there's a review system, I'm not sure if there is on every platform. I would really appreciate if you give it a review or a thumbs up or a star or whatever. Yeah, also I will upload these episodes on YouTube just for completion, because I filmed this episode of us sitting in the van. So if you want to get a sense of how we actually look and not only how we sound, head over to YouTube. You can find it on my YouTube channel at Max M. Schneider, but don't confuse me with Max Schneider, which is apparently a musician from the US. I already got tagged in a couple of stories on Instagram of people thinking I was him, because he recently published a single called what was it, All Lights Low, Lights Down Low, something like that. I didn't check it out yet. I actually should. Also, I'm sorry for the audio quality of us chatting. Thing is, I just have one microphone, so it might sound a bit different than just me talking right into it. Also, we had the heater running because it was fairly cold, so there's a little bit of a background noise happening. I'm sorry for that. I'm trying to filter it out, but I am not an audio engineer by any means, even though I was thinking about studying it back in the days. But yeah, now let's get to it. Alright, so yeah, what's the deal? First of all, welcome to the first episode of Tiny Talks.
I'm honored.
I'm gonna kick that off with you, and I thought first, why don't you just tell me or us a bit about yourself? So
name's Jesse Bolt. I was born in Warman, just right outside Saskatoon, small town outside the city that we're hanging out in right now. Lifelong athlete, turned martial artist. So my Instagram handle and my little podcast name is Nomadic Ninja, because I am a full-time martial artist, specifically Bang Muay Thai. So I train Muay Thai and kickboxing. Nomadic because I live in a van. But I'm not really that nomadic because I'm one of the ones living in a van inside of the city that they're from. So it's a little bit different for me compared to a lot of people that are on the go. So a little bit different for me.
Yeah, and how about your van? Just tell me a little bit about your van setup. So
it's a 1997 Dodge 1500 cargo van. Bought it for $1,800. Did all the renovations myself, except there was kind of a rough, it was the bed was framed in pretty roughly, so I had to do a couple cuts. But other than that, I did all the insulating, the painting, brought in the stove and everything. But it's a super basic van. It's not a high rise. I can't really stand up in it. There's no running water. There's no heater. There's no, there is a heater, but it's just kind of the main van one. I don't really have a fancy Webasto or anything like that, but I do want one after experiencing yours. This is great, man. I really like it. So
now, let's check the temperature outside. Yeah. It's right now outside we got minus 14.3. Right?
Shit. It's and with the wind chill, it's
even
25, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sweet. So, and how long have you been living in the van? You said half a year, a bit more, right?
Yeah, a bit more. So just over 8 months. So January 1st was 8 months. Van anniversary. So
Van anniversary.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, May 1st will be a full year in the van.
Sweet.
Yeah. Although since I'm living in Saskatoon, we've experienced some pretty cold weather, and I have survived minus 32. But
in the van.
In the van, but I was plugged in with an electric heater. So again, just because I'm from here, I have resources that allow me to plug in.
Yeah.
But when it gets really cold, I actually do have a heated garage that someone I don't know, I just met him on Kijiji, was renting out his garage. So I reached out to him and we worked out a good deal where it was affordable for me, and he was happy with the price. So when it does get crazy cold, I have the luxury of going in the heated garage.
Okay.
Yeah,
sweet.
which is a game changer.
Yeah, you're pretty good set up to battle. I mean, like even the heater I have, right? Like the Webasto, it gets like it's working throughout the night, like on full blast. If you're in like minus 25, minus 30, this is kind of like it also depends, of course, on the installation, right? Like depending on how good you're insulated.
That's right.
I mean, like I replaced as much of the seals as I could, right? So
yeah, it holds it pretty well in here, but I could see that if it's like minus 30 and cooler, it's gonna be working
different.
Yeah. And that's why I needed the garage, because I didn't have even my electric heater. Like that thing wouldn't even last. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about asking you 3 community questions I collected from the stories from Instagram.
Cool.
Yesterday. So
is it okay if I sit like right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Of course.
Keep that posture good,
So let me just quickly pull them up. I just made screenshots from it. So there we go. We got one, which is pretty interesting. Also something I would be interested in. So I'm going to ask you these questions, and then I have 2 other questions where we can dive a bit deeper into everything, right?
Sweet.
So the first question would be, what's the general consensus on van life in your location? Is it looked down upon, or?
This is really interesting because right before I walked into this van, I'm trying not to like show it emotionally, but yesterday morning I did a CBC, like a radio podcast, or not a podcast. It was like a 5-minute interview.
Yeah, so yeah.
It went really great. And honestly, like on social media, 99% awesome feedback, like from people that I talk to face to face, 99% great feedback, like no issues ever. But I just read, somebody posted it on Facebook, about like the article that I did, and had a bunch of pictures. I was reading some of the comments, and that's one of the problems with short form media, is you don't get to tell your whole story. So like people just see that little snippet, and now they're calling me like a luxurious bum. What else do they say? There's a few other terms that they were using, but basically like a fancy bum, and they're this loser's living off the land. Like, why would you put this on the media? It doesn't deserve news coverage. Okay, so that was the first taste, like just literally 30 seconds before I walked into the van. That was the first taste that I've had of like a lot of negativity towards this lifestyle.
But do you know the demographics of it? Like, was it more?
It was around here, just because it was specifically, it was like it was like local CBC, like in Saskatoon area. So I'm assuming it's Saskatoon people, but I could be wrong. I would just assume because it was like a Saskatchewan or Saskatoon media outlet that it was local, but you can't pay attention to those people.
It's interesting, right? Like it's definitely a trend, and I mean, you see like tons of people living in vans. But it's still, like it's a huge community, like especially here in North America as well as in Europe. Like, I mean, Europe is pretty much the dreamland because you can go wherever you want.
Australia is
massive as well.
Big van life community.
It's just you don't have as much variety, right? Like, North America and Europe are pretty much like the 2 hotspots in my eyes, right? If you think about, you could do winter, but you could also do summer or like, acceptable temperatures all year round, right?
Right.
So just because of that, and you can pretty much move wherever you want over land, it's pretty easy to live in a van and kind of like escape the bad weather.
Right.
I mean, you're pretty much like brave enough to face the cold.
Brave or stupid, I don't know.
I mean, look at me. I'm sitting here with you. So.
Yeah, so, and it's one of those things where it's like I said, like I've done a lot of things in my life, and the van life, I got more positive feedback than anything I've ever done, whether it was start a business, like I started a food truck business, I fought professionally, traveled to Australia, did all these things. Van life received the best, support, but one bad comment, it just tries to sneak its way under your skin. So it's going to be good for me the more I put myself out there, whether it's Instagram or doing these radios, to develop that tough skin and just to ignore those people. Like it's not their life, it's mine. They don't know who I am. They don't know how hard I actually work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They don't know I get up at 5 a.m. every day and do my thing. So I really have to just understand that they just don't understand me. And that's why or maybe they don't have the best life themselves. So it's just keyboard warrior, lashing out, talking shit online.
Of course. Yeah, it's always.
But
always
man,
different.
do I want to comment back to them.
Yeah, of course. I know. I totally feel you.
Man,
when you have people like, I don't know, Sally Pants McGee, right?
Yeah, I know. Like, you want to engage, but I don't want to feed the trolls. I almost want to. Them saying that makes me want to keep ramping it up and keep living this lifestyle even more and smiling even more doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it comes with a lot of stuff. Like we're gonna dive into that later in one of my questions.
Cool.
But I want to move on to the next one. Since you're not alone in the van, you have
got my bitch,
your beautiful dog with you.
Yeah.
And the next question is actually about that. So the question is, what is the hardest part about van life with a big dog? Because Layla, she's not the smallest dog.
No, and she's not that calm either. Like she's like you met her, and she likes to. She's pretty vocal, So when I'm trying to like go out and socialize, like sometimes it can be tough. Like, can I pet your dog? And she'll bark and try and scare everybody.
Right away. Yeah.
But as far as the biggest struggles in the van, summertime is the toughest part because she is a big hairy dog. Like she gets warm pretty easily. So I had a few rules that like, no matter what, obviously park in the shade, always have reflectix up, trying to keep the sun out. I had a fan that I plug into my 2000 watt inverter just to kind of help circulation a little bit. Yeah. And the nice thing too, is I didn't have like a 8-hour day of work or anything. Like I come in to do like an hour private or, I'll do a 6 a.m. class and then I'm back in the van. So I never really had to leave her. Especially during the day. It's like I'm a morning person, so I'm doing like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. stuff, and then later in the evening when the sun goes down again. So during the day,
kind of like a night person.
Yeah,
so like early bird
and then like nighttime. Daytime, it was like taking care of Layla, making sure her temperature was good, bringing her down to the river. But yeah, I mean, just little things like there's hair everywhere, but you get used to it. Yeah, she spills shit. Like sometimes if she sees like another dog, she'll like dart across the van, step on my chest, and just like kind of run at the window and like hit shit over. So like, I try not to like lose my temper because like sometimes you'll like knock coffee over, like whatever it is, piss jugs, you name it. I don't know if I can say it on this podcast.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like you can feel free to say whatever you want. Like I'm not censoring anything.
Yeah, so that was the one biggest thing that like I almost threw her out of the van was like if I don't have like a proper jug, I'll piss in a coffee cup. Hopefully more like a lot of van lifers can relate to this. But
this is like what I want to talk about. Like I just want to keep it real.
Good.
Right?
Okay,
it's not
cool.
all cotton candy mangoes. Like
cool.
Right?
So and the problem, like peeing in coffee cups is stupid because they're not like sealed. And my dog, when she ran past it, she fucking kicked it over and just dumped half a cup of piss in the van. And like I was so mad. I remember just looking at her being like, do I get rid of you and just make a post saying you got hit by a car or something? Like I was just fuming. But eventually I just was like, you know what, this is part of the journey, clean it up, move on.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I got a good floor for like wiping shit down. I quickly tackled it so it didn't get any like crevices and like stink up the van. So I quickly just wiped it down. It's like a roll-out laminate flooring. So it's perfect for cleaning liquids.
Yeah. Nice. Are you scared of people eventually like smashing your windows, like seeing Layla in there, or do you also keep it like completely covered?
Do you know
up?
what that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. In the summertime, I was absolutely terrified of that, and I was a lot more cautious of where I parked. I would always have my eyes on her, like on the van. If I went to a coffee shop, I made sure I parked in a spot
you can see it,
where I can see her, just in case someone's looking in there. But I always had, I think I had 7 or 8 openings in the van, including my roof vent. And usually I would make the fan quite visible in case someone did walk by. They would at least see a fan there. And, so I was hoping that would be okay. But also, she's a pretty intense looking dog. Like, if you come up to the van, she'll bite at the glass. Like, so breaking the window, it's like you might save the dog and then kill yourself. Yeah. She's going to jump out there and be pretty mad that you just ruined her house.
Yeah, pretty much.
It did concern me, but I never had any issues with it, but definitely concerning.
Okay. Yeah, because like I met a bunch of people with cats in their vans, right?
Yeah.
So 2 vans I know, or both with 2 cats each.
Oh yeah.
And I like now 2 cats. And they've been expressing that as well, that they were like really scared about everything, and like, but they were closed off vans, right? Like sprinters or box trucks with like not really windows where you can look in.
Right, not that exposed.
Like, right. So it's and anyways, like in the front, like in the cab, it's when the sun is shining in there, right? Like, it's way too hot anyway. So they hang out in the back, where you can't see it.
And cats are quite quiet too. Like you're not going to hear a cat barking from a block away. Whereas like Layla, like her noise, like, and like people are dog lovers, including myself. Like if I saw a dog like that looked hot in a vehicle, I'll smash the window immediately, but I'll make sure that I'm like looking around, like, is that dog actually needing help?
Actually it's the case that the dog is.
Because some people just see a dog and it's like 3 minutes and they're breaking windows. And it's like the dog's fine. So it's like you got to be careful. You're not just breaking windows and just for.
Okay, so last question. It's a bit more like technical.
Oh boy,
like not technical.
Okay.
Like it's
okay.
No, it's like
what gauge wire do you use? I'm like, I don't know.
Nah, it's like the best way. What's the best way to deal with condensation?
Oh,
so what's your
do you know what I haven't
strategy?
I haven't really solved that. Just like I have a Mr. Buddy heater, like the little propane heater, and I use it for a little bit, and immediately I was like, I can't even use it. Like immediately the condensation would build up, and then when I shut it off to go to bed, and plus you have to open windows, so it's -30, and you're letting -30 air get in, and you're also trying to heat it with this propane heater. So the condensation was a disaster. And then I would shut it off. It would freeze like 1/2 inch on the inside of the windows. And it almost
1/2 inch.
Oh, it was like, I would have to get credit cards and just scrape the inside. Like it was really bad.
Oh boy. Okay.
So I just stopped using it. And, like I said, since I'm a van lifer in the city I'm from, like I do have good resources. And I always like, I'll either offer money to plug in, or I'll do some service, like whether it's running my gym social media for free, or just vacuuming all the time, helping out with classes for free, always trying to do something. So I plugged in and used my electric heater, which is awesome.
Yeah. So
there's no condensation at all.
Yeah. It's like the main problem, or like the main way to do it is basically just like going with dry heat sources, right?
Yeah,
like
that's huge. Yeah.
Like the Webasto, for instance, it's just a chamber that heats up the air, right? There's no combustion like involved like in that circle that is involved, right? Which brings humidity into it. Like the only humidity in here is my own breath, right? And like my sweat.
Yeah.
But
which can build up quite, especially with Layla, it's even worse. Yeah. Like a dog, like she's she just starts doing this and you can just see it start building up. But so I think the coldest I slept in the van without any heater was -22.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I had about 7 blankets. I had long johns on, jeans, 3 hoodies, a toque, my hood up, and then even my eye shades, like to put over my eyes so it's black, are like half-inch thick. So even those are like warming my face.
Is that like rigid foam or what do you have like on your eyes?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know where my mom got it, but it was like, it's real feminine too. It's like all like glittery stars and stuff, but it just works. Like it's thick and it keeps me warm. -1. And there wasn't that bad of condensation. There was a little bit, but I didn't really care too much.
Yeah. I mean, like the mainly the thing is what I would say is like cover it up. Right. Like, because when it's covered, like it doesn't really build up.
Right.
I noticed that with my reflectix in the front, right? Like, if I put in the side windows and it really sits against the window, like no air gap, I don't have any condensation at all. It's just the front window because it's angled, right?
Yeah.
I have these air pockets, and that's where you saw it this morning. Yeah, right? Like where like the whole windshield is frozen. Yeah. Right? But the side ones are actually pretty good. Like I just peel it off and it's completely done. So
I need to get the side front ones. I actually don't have any for they're all exposed and
it makes a huge difference.
I bet.
It makes a huge difference, yeah. So it's pretty much dry heat source, cover it up. So that's pretty much it. And like vapor barrier basically. Like, cover it up.
Yeah.
Like in this van, I have everything underneath here is vapor barrier. So like underneath the wood, I got the reflectix and I got it all covered with tuck tape, like all the air gaps, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have anything going in between the sheet metal and the reflectix.
Right.
Ideally. Like, of course, you cannot do it completely, but it's like you kind of want to keep it sealed off, right?
Right. I actually heard one guy, it sounded really old school and it didn't seem practical to me. Like maybe if you have the setup for it, but he was like, have you ever done a sweat lodge before with like the really hot rocks and they bring up the steam and stuff? People were like with van lifers who didn't have like any heat source. They would have a fire outside and put rocks in there and get them super hot. And then they would put them inside the van.
Oh, okay.
And they were getting heat off of that. Yeah. I probably wouldn't do that, especially with Layla around. Like, I don't know. I just wouldn't.
Yeah,
it kind of freaks me out. Like
her, like I don't know, like sitting on there, getting
I don't know, touching it or something. Kind of you know, she runs across and gets her hair on fire or something. So I don't know. For me, I wouldn't want to do that. And plus, you got to have a fire outside in -30 or something to heat the rocks.
Yeah. I mean, it's like better than nothing.
Yeah, course, exactly.
Right? Like it's very like if you're stuck somewhere,
you're in a bind,
you don't have anything. Yeah, it's a good thing. Like
exactly.
I actually never heard of that. Like, but it's genius. Like you have because stone is a pretty good conductor, and it's a really good capacitor for heat. Right?
And you're not getting carbon monoxide poisoning. Like
nothing.
It's not nothing.
So it makes sense. So all of
it's like a last resort, I think.
Yeah,
you know, if you're like you said, you're stuck in a bind, make a fire, heat up some rocks.
Yeah,
survive.
Somehow bring them in the van without setting all the wood on fire.
Yeah, like even just like put it in a big pot, like a cooking pot. Just throw the rocks in there or something. You know.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. That was
those are my
it from the
3 questions.
3 questions
Sweet.
From the audience. You did pretty well. Let me just check the time. Where are we? Oh, well, 21 minutes.
Sweet.
Now, a bit less. Like we started a bit later,
and are you chopping this up?
No, it's just going straight up.
Sweet.
So no breaks, nothing.
Good.
Raw. So yeah, one of the questions I have is because we spoke about it a bit yesterday in your van, the whole downsizing thing. So like, what's really interesting me is what I'm really interested in is like, where do you come from? Like, what was your starting point? Where you noticed, okay, I need to downsize, or like, what was the moment it clicked for you where you needed to,
So, I don't know, there wasn't really like one moment. It was almost like years and years of moments that were kind of leading me up to eliminating all of my things and then moving into the van. So, you know, I guess it probably started when I was 20, when I bought a house, you know, got an auto loan, a credit card. I kind of just fully submerged myself into that crazy rat race, you know, and I thought it was right at the time. I thought that's what people did. You buy a house and you get a new vehicle and, you know, you pay your bills and you work.
Yeah, just being
And so I started doing that. And over the years, like I owned a house for 9 years before selling everything and moving into the van. Had high paying jobs. You know, I made over $100,000 a year. Sometimes I make 30 grand a year, like all over the place. But I was going from job to job to job because I was never feeling fulfilled. Like I always just kind of felt like, fuck, is this it? Like, is this all I'm doing is just working these jobs that I don't care for to pay for shit I don't really value? Like, I just wanted shelter. I didn't want to pay 50 years for shelter. Like the house that I bought in Mormon was a very modest old house and it was still like $230,000. I just wanted a roof over my head. So I was like, why do I have to work 12-hour days to pay for this house I don't even really care about?
Yeah.
And then rush to training and maybe get an hour in and then rush back to walk my dog. And it just, you know, that was just kept building up. And I kept just wondering, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why do I keep quitting these jobs? Like, how can everyone else just get by this life? It would seem so easy to me, like for other people to do it. So yeah, finally at, you know, long story short, I started training at Modern Martial Arts. And I kind of just, my passion was like sparked again. Like I felt like alive again. And then I started helping coach there. And that really kind of put another idea in my head where, oh shit, I can make money doing something I love. And I wasn't making good money doing it at all, but it finally kind of made me feel fulfilled. And then that's when the gears started turning where I was like, oh shit, like I'm going to need to sacrifice something. Cause like, so I got laid off for my seasonal work. I was pouring concrete.
Okay. And
so May 1st, I could have started that concrete job again and kept my house and kept doing the same thing over and over again. So it was kind of like in the nick of time. Like I bought an old van and I listed my house and I was like, and in all honesty, I was willing to walk away from the house too. Like I was pretty, like my mind was like really set on not leaving this martial art lifestyle. Some people would say it's stupid, or you're going to ruin your credit and stuff like that. But at the time, I just didn't care. It was almost like my mental health versus paying the banks, you know, and paying my house and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's just too much of a burden. Like if we, even though if we don't really want to see it, right? It's like, it's just your everyday responsibility, sort of. But like why? I mean, you make it your responsibility yourself, right? So that's kind of like the point where you should ask yourself is like, I put this on myself and I hate it.
Yeah.
So like it does make sense.
Yeah.
Like right. So
yeah. So like once I kind of felt what that life was like, I just knew that I wasn't gonna let it go. So I just was like, okay, sacrifice everything. My dad's a realtor. He listed my house right away, and it ended up selling. Do you know what? I think it was like it was insane. I think it sold May 1st, like the day I was supposed to start my job and like continue my shitty life. Yeah. But it ended up selling and it was like a smooth transition. Like I had just finished renovating the first van. So it's like the house sold May 1st. I went in the garage, put Layla in there, put all my shit in there, and just drove off the driveway. And that was it. So it's been 8.5 months since then. So yeah. Nice. Yeah. It's pretty wild, but and that's the thing.
It's interesting how it turns out to be sometimes, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes just everything comes together, and it's like, you know, and it just feels great. Like, and also like you were telling it when you were getting rid of your stuff, like bit by bit. I mean, like, you know, like it's always this thing of like people having a house and then they have like this stuff they need to maintain the house. Right. Like.
And over the years, like I said, I had the house for 9 years. Like over the years, you accumulate so much stuff. You have no idea. Like, and during me selling the house, I had so much shit. I just had to have garage sale 7 days a week for, I forget, me and my mom were just selling shit, like just constantly having garage sales.
Should have called Gary Vee. Like he would have bought everything, man. Yeah, I know. You take my shit, you get it for free.
But that's the thing. I was no Gary Vee. I was just get it off my property. People are like, I had the price listed and they're like, it's too much. I'm like, what would you pay for it? They're like this. I'm like, good. Take it, get it off my, I was just
get
like,
it off my lawn.
The last week of me having a garage sale was literally free. It's like, if you came onto my lot, I'm like, what do you want? They're like, that looks nice. Take it. And I was just literally like, get it out of here.
Yeah. That's something, when I was with Madison and Ray, they were selling a bunch of stuff as well because they also listed the house, right, and downsized into the van. So and it's very interesting seeing that process and comparing it to actually, so like the trade, how easy it is to give money and pick something up, but how hard it is, or like how insane like the process is to reverse that transaction.
Right.
When you don't have, of course, like if you don't just like bring it back and, like get the refund, but it's like if you owned it for like a couple of years, to get back some money from it is way harder than buying something with money.
Right. Oh yeah.
And it's like, if you compare that, it's insane.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like, it could be a proper job. Right. Truthfully.
For sure.
Selling other people's stuff.
Absolutely.
Like I bet soon that you actually might be able to find people that offer you the service to sell stuff on eBay for you. Yeah.
Even people running your garage sale. Some people don't even want to sell their own shit at a garage sale. It's like, it stresses them out. So it's like you just get someone else to sell. It's like a similar thing.
Yeah, so like that. It's just on eBay or like whatever. Yeah. Kijiji. It's just, it's just like using the internet for it. But like acting in the real world is kind of like, I mean, you could hire like the neighbor's kid to do it.
Yeah.
Like, and you say like, okay, if you, this, I don't want to, like the important stuff, you just tell him like, okay, I don't want to sell this under $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then he gets a commission and he's like super happy with his $5, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Now it's insane to me. Like
well, and that's the one thing that I liked the most, or maybe not the most, but it was definitely in the top of the list was, we talked about it yesterday, was when you rid yourself of all of your possessions, your mind seems to clear. Mm-hmm. When you have all these things, even if you don't really think about it, but if you know in the back of your head that your attic, like your literal attic in your house, is full of shit, and your garage is full of shit, and your shed is full of shit, it's hard to like really like calm yourself and to not be so scattered and always thinking like, oh, there's stuff to do around the house. I gotta, it almost like, for me anyway, it was clouding my thinking. And so when I didn't have any of that stuff, I didn't have to think about it anymore because I don't own it anymore. It's not mine. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden now it's like, oh, now I can look to the future a little bit more and maybe, and enjoy the present, but also like kind of strategize a little bit and figure out what direction do I want to go in now that I don't have all that chaos to think about. And sometimes when you have that chaos, you can't think very well for yourself. Yeah. Because you're just caught in the wheel. At least for me, this is all my experience anyway.
Sweet.
But
yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to wrap it up. 30 minutes.
Oh, sweet. Spot on or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
Where are you looking at the time right now?
It's on the recorder.
Oh, I see. I thought you were looking at my tube.
No.
Okay, sweet.
I was looking on here. So 30
awesome.
minutes we got on there.
Cool.
Is there anything you want to say? Like anything you just want to get out, maybe to inspire people to
sell your house, buy a van, and join my cult. I'm just kidding. No, not really. I mean, this lifestyle is not for everyone, but the reason I like to share this stuff is because I view, sometimes I think about other people being in my situation, and maybe they would need to see someone who already pulled the trigger and who did that. So sometimes that motivates me to share my story, just because like I wasn't happy with my old life. And if I would have seen this sooner, maybe I would have pulled the trigger 4 years earlier or whatever. So, for me, again, it's not for everyone, but if you find yourself, in a similar situation and you're freaking out about everything, going from job to job, you might need to make like a drastic change. Cause sometimes those really small, minuscule changes aren't going to cut it. To just getting another job might not be the answer, but really cutting safety nets and forcing yourself into a new lifestyle, it could change the way you live for the rest of your life, for the better or the worse. So, yeah, that's
I mean,
all
you
I'd
can
say.
always go back.
Exactly. Like,
You can always go back.
Yeah.
It's not that it's like, you make that decision and now that's it.
you can never buy a house again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I bought 2 houses, I can buy a third down the road.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can also still just rent.
yeah, exactly.
For now until you like accumulate and
Yeah.
like build up your credit.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Join my cult. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate
thanks for being here.
This is
Thanks
cool.
for welcoming me.
Yeah,
so
hell
on.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Tiny talks, eh?
Tiny
That's
talks.
what you're going with?
that's what I'm
I
going
like
with.
it. I like it. Makes sense.
Sweet.
Sweet.
And it's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this episode brought you a little bit of value and insight on a couple of problems we vanlifers kind of run into and how challenging it can be to live in the cold like Jesse. If you liked it, give it a review if possible. I'm not sure if your platform does allow it, but I'd be happy if you subscribe. And if you want to support me, I have a Patreon up. You can find it at patreon.com/maxmschneider. Also at this point, I really want to thank Ryan Lindsay, Ryan Buddy. I really appreciate your support. Also, I'm really happy that a lot of people already addressed their interests in coming onto this show, so I'm really stoked about that. Yeah, I don't want to keep this too long since this episode was fairly long already. If you're still listening, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you guys listening and watching, and I will hear you next time. Stay stoked.